Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the closing ceremony of the UNWTO Global Summit on Urban Tourism. Thank you once again for your participation. I believe that all of our guests are still entering the hall. We will just take a few minutes for everyone to be seated. Thank you very much. I am Ju-Yeon Cho once again, and thank you for gracing us with all of your presence. In implementing sustainable 2030 vision for urban tourism agenda, this global summit was held to discuss the major issues comprising the future of tourism or urban tourism, and it was held for the past 3 days. And we believe that we couldn't have made it a success with all of your support. And thank you once again for all of your avid passion and all of your support as well. First of all, we'd like to proceed with the technical conclusions. And in the presentation, I'd like to invite Ms. Sandra Carvao, the Chief of the Tourism Market Intelligence and Competitiveness of the World Tourism Organization, to the stage. Please greet her with a big round of applause.
Thank you very much. I'd like to actually start by thanking our hosts, the Seoul Metropolitan government, for the fantastic event that we just had, for being such a professional team, a pleasant team, and a smiley team. Thank you so much. I also like to thank, obviously, the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sports of Korea, the Korea Tourism Organization, and the Seoul Tourism Organization. Partnerships are the key for events like this to actually work, and it's very, very rewarding to see how different organizations work so well together. I also want to thank the speakers and the moderators, because at the end of the day, during 2 days, they shared their knowledge, their expertise with us, and they're the ones that actually make this worthwhile. Together with you, more than 50 nationalities have gathered in Seoul. This is what tourism is about, bringing people together, bringing knowledge together. I also want to thank our interpreters and all the staff in this hotel. They've been fantastic, always ready to help us. And I want to also thank our fantastic MCs who have gone through the days with us. I think they've made our work much easier as well, keeping us on time. And finally, a word of thanks to the BBC, our media partners. To Rajendra Tar was here yesterday moderating the high-level panel. So this is the group that made it all possible. I ask you please to again thank everyone that made this event a success for us and for you. Well, we've had 2 days of sharing of experiences, opening avenues of collaboration, we hope. We hope that you'll go back home and you have tons of new contacts to actually call and ask for advice when you face a challenge. This is one of the key values of this kind of events. We had very diverse players, cities with very different challenges. We've seen how Cape Town, Venice, Barcelona are facing different challenges, and this is the value of it. We've talked a lot about over-tourism, but I think it's also time that we go beyond and that we think about the value of tourism to a future agenda besides that big issue that is on the headlines. I think it's clear that there is no one-size-fits-all, and that each city will have to find the solutions among the different options that are better for them. In concluding, I would just like to share with you some thoughts of what has happened here in the last 2 days. They're not aimed at being very detailed, but I think the highlights of the 2 days are important to keep in mind. So first, we heard that tourism is the top sector in the experience economy. We've moved to an experience economy, and tourism is about experiences. So it's only natural that we're actually one of the fastest growing sectors. We also heard that we're moving from an experiential economy to a transformational economy. So it's up to us to think and reflect how we want to play a part in that new transformational economy. We also heard that we need to be authentic, We need to find our soul, and we need to be true to ourselves. I think one of the key reflections that I kept is you will only need to promote what you are. If you're good, then people will come. If not, you cannot trigger consumers anymore. We also heard that technology, artificial intelligence, and big data are going to be and are already present in all the steps of the journey, and that they are key in city management. But to actually make the best out of them, we need to have adequate regulation, we need infrastructure, and we need to have systems we can talk to each other. Otherwise, data will not be valuable. We also need new skills, and I think this is a very important point. Tourism education is today focused on traditional skills. When we talk about the future of work in tourism, we need to talk about data analysts, engineers, totally different skills than we had 5, 3, even 2 years ago. We also mentioned the importance of building resilience. The World Bank has mentioned that one of their priorities is to build resilient cities. We know that natural and made-man crisis can actually eat any city at any time, so cities need to be prepared, and tourism needs to be part of that resilience. We heard that tourists are probably among the most vulnerable situation when there's a crisis, because they don't know the country, they don't know where to go. So it's very important for tourism to be part of any emergency planning in a city. If something happens, tourism needs to be part of that. We also have come across a new term, thanks to our colleagues here in Seoul, which is the term of travel citizens. We need, and I think this is probably one of the key issues, we need to engage travelers with residents, we need to listen to residents, we need to treat tourists as temporary residents, because at the end, they are all sharing the same infrastructure, the same resources, the same culture in a same location. I think probably the ideal moment in a city's life will be when there's no difference between a resident and a tourist. When you're sitting in your coffee shop in your neighborhood, and you don't mind if the person sitting next to you is French, Italian, Korean, or Japanese, or from your hometown, because it will be just someone enjoying a coffee like you. For that, we need to tackle travel behavior. As it was mentioned by the representative of UNESCO, we need to talk to tourists and make them aware they do have an impact in the destinations they visit. Last year, UNWTO, during the International Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development, launched the campaign Travel, Enjoy, Respect. And for us, this is really the key 3 words. Travel, enjoy as much as you can, but respect the destination, the communities, the culture, the values. So we need travel citizens who actually understand and benefit the destination. Another big discussion, obviously, is there over-tourism, or do we actually need better management? I think we probably were the victims of our own success. Tourism has grown exponentially, and many destinations did not foresee the impacts. It's there, we need to manage, but we also can plan ahead for those who are not still in that situation. Over-tourism, we heard, our top destinations. The mayor of Dubrovnik mentioned it, but there's many, many options of promoting dispersal policies in time in the city space. We talked about rejuvenation. Many urban areas, as it was mentioned by the PATA representative, can actually be a fantastic way to bring benefits for social populations which are in less favored position. So give them economic benefits, give them social pride, bring tourism to their areas in a balanced way and engaging them. I think there was a very interesting comment, I think from Malaysia on Georgetown, that it was not about major infrastructure investment, it was about giving small grants to small businesses to actually go about the rejuvenation of the city. We also heard that mobility is essential, and that's related to residents and citizens. So good planning in mobility will be one of the key issues that will help us manage better tourism flows in cities. We also heard over and over about the importance of monitoring, planning, and managing. We need to increase the benefits and minimize the impacts, but for that, we need to know exactly what those impacts are. We need to have monitoring systems. We heard from São Paulo. They are actually part of the international network of sustainable tourism observatories of UNWTO. They're among the few cities who are part of the network, and we invite you all to engage with us because we are developing indicators that can be comparable among destinations, and I think you have a lot to benefit from that network. We also heard that we need to integrate the planning of tourism in the planning of the city, that we need to build scenarios and be prepared. More than anything else, we need, and we heard it over and over, adequate governance for urban tourism. And that means adequate governance for urban development. We can only build cities for all if tourism is part of the wider agenda, if we include residents in the planning, and if we use tourism to build a better city. And for us, as the United Nations Agency for Tourism, a better city is actually a city that contributes to tourism in the new urban agenda and to the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly goal number 11, and we're very happy to have with us our colleagues from UN Habitat. And I'd like to end with this reference. Tourism can only be relevant if it's relevant to actually build a better future for all, and this is our roadmap to it. So tourism should actually contribute to goal number 11, which says, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Tourism is one of the key socio-economic activities of the experience economy and the new transformational economy. But if we are to contribute to these objectives, we actually need to work together to minimize the negatives. They exist, we've seen them, but also to positive factors. If we increase the positives, the perception and the reactions of tourists and residents will be different. This is all from our side. Thank you so much for all your input. We'll be in touch with you by email so that we can actually continue this technical conversation and hear more from your experiences. Thanks again for our hosts. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you once again for that great technical conclusion presentation. And now moving on, we have, let us invite Mr. Yong, the Director General of Tourism and Sports Bureau of Seoul Metropolitan City, for his closing remarks. Please greet him with a big round of applause.
안녕하십니까. 서울시 관광체육국장 주영태입니다. 지난 일요일 저희가 옛도 박물관에서 환영 립세션을 시작한 이 이래로 3일간 2030 세계도시관광 미래 비전을 주제로 열린 제7차 세계관광총회가 끝나가고 있어 무척 아쉽습니다. 근본 행사는 UNWTO와 서울시가 관광도시들이 당면한 주요 이슈에 대해서 글로벌 관광 리더들의 다양한 식견과 통찰력을 모아 미래 관광의 해법을 찾아가고자 기획되었습니다. 삶의 방향을 바꿀 수 있는 변혁적인 관광의 개념을 제시한 조세파인 교수의 기조 강연, 그리고 멀리 파리에서부터 가깝게는 몽골까지 15개 도시가 그리는 미래 관광의 청사진을 제시한 고위급 라운드 테이블, 도시 경쟁력, 4차 산업혁명, 도시재생, 그리고 공정관광을 키워드로 한 4개의 세션, 짧은 기간이었지만 세계 50개국에서 모여든 서로가 생각하는 미래 도시 관광의 전망과 고민을 함께 토론하는 뜨거운 시간을 가졌습니다. 이 많은 도시의 이야기의 중심에는 사람이 있었습니다. 급격히 변화하는 미래에도 시민이 행복한 도시, 살기 좋은 도시를 만든다면 당연히 방문하기 좋은 도시가 될 것이라고 생각합니다. 시민과 관광객이 서로 행복한 미래 관광 도시를 만들어가는 것이 쉬운 과제는 아니지만 서울시는 여러 도시들의 이러한 사례를 공유함으로써 한 걸음 더 나아가는 시간이 되었습니다. 모쪼록 서울에서 논의한 수많은 아이디어가 세계 관광 시장의 지속 가능한 발전을 이끌어가는 원동력이 되기를 기원합니다. 아쉽지만 감사의 말씀을 드리면서 마무리를 할까 합니다. 이 행사를 공동으로 주최하고 지원해 주신 UNWTO 주산종 상임이사님, 서울시와 함께 풍부한 프로그램을 기획한 산드라 프로그램 국장님을 비롯한 UNWTO 여러분에게도 진심으로 깊은 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 그리고 본 행사의 처음부터 마지막을 함께하고 계신 여러분, 미래 관광의 청사진을 그리기 위한 여러분의 뜨거운 열정에 깊은 감사를 드립니다. 서울시는 근본 행사를 계기로 도시관광의 발전을 선도하며 도시간 협력 체계를 구축하는 데 앞장서겠습니다. 아직 행사가 끝나지 않았습니다. 이 자리에서 논의된 4가지 세션 주제별로 서울을 직접 체험할 수 있는 연계 관광 프로그램이 오늘 오후부터 시작됩니다. 부디 현장에서 첨단과 역사가 그리고 과거와 미래가 조화로운 서울의 참 모습을 발견하고 가시길 기대합니다. 대한민국은 봄, 여름, 가을, 겨울 4계절이 뚜렷한 나라입니다. 이번에는 높고 맑은 하늘이 인상적인 가을에 방문하셨지만 다음에는 전국 곳곳에 아름다운 꽃들이 우거지는 봄에 여러분의 가족, 지인, 동료와 함께 방문하셔서 서울을 충분히 느끼고 또 다른 경험을 체험하시길 바라겠습니다. 대단히 감사합니다. 안녕히 가십시오.
Thank you once again for those closing remarks, Mr. Chu. And as he has mentioned, we truly hope that next time you are in Korea, you can truly experience what Seoul has to offer, and maybe another season as well. And next, we also have the closing remarks by Mr. Shanzhong Chu, the Executive Director of the World Tourism Organization. Please greet him with a big round of applause.
Director General, Mr. Yong, Yong, thank you very much for hosting us in this amazing city of Seoul. Seoul is an example to all cities who wish to be leaders in urban tourism. Innovation, tradition, culinary delights, and hospitable people make of Seoul the ideal meeting point for travelers and residents. It has been an immense pleasure to discuss this beautiful city. I wish to again thank the Seoul Metropolitan Government as well as the Korean government and the Korean Tourism Organization for being such a perfect host for the 7th UNWTO Global Summit on Urban Tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, urban tourism is major economic activities. It stimulates economic growth and social change due to its contribution to GDP, job creation, and exports. Yet, a 2030 vision for urban tourism requires new thinking of optimize the needs and expectations of the new customer and to advance inclusive economic and social growth, structural transformation, and innovation. This vision must focus on sustainability and competitiveness. Terms such as over-tourism or tourism phobia have made headlines in recent times. They reflect challenges of managing growing tourism flows into urban destinations and the impact of tourism on cities and its residents. Tourism will only be sustainable if developed and managed considering both visitors and local communities. A strong, sustainable, and inclusive 2030 vision for urban tourism can only be secured through dialogue, coordination, cooperation, and partnership between all public and private stakeholders and civil society. It is therefore critical to ensure that urban tourism is aligned with the role of cities in the global agenda. The United Nations New Urban Agenda and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, namely Goal 8, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, must be priority for all. Ladies and gentlemen, it has become clear over the last 2 days that addressing the challenge facing urban tourism today is a complex task. The UNWTO series of global summits on urban tourism aims to be a space of discussion that brings together all partners to create a common vision for urban tourism. Placing tourism as one of the pillars of the urban agenda is essential for the sector and for cities alike. We will continue to advance this important objective with organization of a Mayors Forum for Inclusive Tourism next January in Lisbon, Portugal. We are confident that together we can be stronger. Thank you again to our amazing hosts, to all our speakers who shared their knowledge and experience with us. Ladies and gentlemen, this dialogue will surely continue in the next edition of the UNWTO Urban Tourism Summit, which I'm happy to announce will take place in Astana, Kazakhstan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those closing remarks. And as Mr. Shanzhong has also announced, we know the next host city as well. But also tied into that closing remarks, we also have the announcement of the next host city to continue on the discussion and cooperation for the development of urban tourism. And for that, let us invite Mr. Yermak Amanchayev, the Deputy Mayor of Astana, Kazakhstan, to the stage. Please greet him with an extra big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I am very happy to be here in this beautiful city of Seoul and on the stage of this great event. Астана, столица Республики Казахстан, сегодня определена в качестве следующего города проведения саммита ЮНВТО в 2019 году. Для нас это большая честь принять эстафету столь важного саммита от славного города Сеул и организовать престижное мероприятие в Астане. Примечательно, что Астана и Сеул – города-побратимы, и как с корейского языка Сеул означает столица, так и Астана в переводе с казахского «столица». Астане в этом году исполнилось 20 лет. Справедливо замечаю, что каждый из этих 20 лет в своем развитии равняется 10-20 годам. Все это стало возможным благодаря системной поддержке президента Республики Казахстан Назарбаева Нурсултана Абишевича. Астана сегодня это одна из самых молодых и динамично развивающихся столиц мира, деловой и событийный хаб всей Центральной Азии с объектами, поражающими своей неповторимой архитектурой и уникальностью. В городе реализуются самые смелые идеи и проекты всемирно известных авторов. При этом при планировании и застройке города вопрос создания городских общественных пространств занимает одно из приоритетных мест. И важными факторами в этом смысле являются доступность, комфортность, инклюзивность. Однако наряду с современными трендами мы по-прежнему чтим историю и уклад наших предков, номадов, сохраняя аутентичность нации передавая традиции культуры будущим поколениям. Астана – мультиконфессиональный город, толерантный, уважающий веру и традиции других народов. Примечательно, что Астана стала постоянной площадкой проведения съезда лидеров мировых религий. Астана на регулярной основе принимает другие крупные международные мероприятия. В частности, в прошлом году мы провели специализированную международную выставку «Экспо-2017» с темой «Энергия будущего», темой насущной для развития зеленой экономики города. Проведение Экспо дало импульс стремительному развитию туристического сектора столицы. Руководство города имеет четкое видение дальнейшего устойчивого развития города. По становлению Астаны как комфортной и безопасной столицы, центром притяжения туристов. Наряду с позиционированием Астаны как делового центра Евразии мы по праву можем считаться региональным авиахабом, имея при этом аэропорт, отвечающий всем международным стандартам. В целом Астана обладает всей необходимой инфраструктурой для проведения мероприятий любого уровня. Город готов предоставить самые современные конгрессно-выставочные объекты, отели премиального сегмента и услуги высочайшего уровня. Астана, как дестинация, представляет собой полноценный страновой туристический кластер с живописными окрестностями, национальными заповедниками и широким спектром развлечений. В завершении хотелось бы поблагодарить всех организаторов данного саммита, секретариат UNWTO и мэрию Сеула и всех присутствующих. Приглашаем в следующем году в Астану. Welcome to Astana. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, and congratulations to hosting the 8th UNWTO Global Summit on Urban Tourism. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for attending our closing ceremony. And now, ladies and gentlemen, that would be all for our closing ceremony for the 7th Global Summit. Once again, thank you for attending the last 3 days of our summit. And I hope, or we hope, that the 7th UNWTO